Hello and welcome, guys. Today we continue talking about emotional schemes, beliefs about emotions. As you know, emotional regulation and our ability to deal with emotions influences like every aspect of our life, from our quality of life, relationships, work time, health, and so on and so on. So this is very important topic. In the previous video, we talked about how emotional socialization forms certain beliefs and assumptions in our mind about emotions, emotional regulation, and so on. Then we talked about different assumptions and ideas about emotions. And today in particular, we're going to talk about the assumption that emotions are uncontrollable, or some emotions are difficult to control, or I have to control my emotions, otherwise it's horrible. So all kinds of ideas about control over emotions. We will think about this in certain way. Like, first of all, I want you to write down which emotions in particular you think you can control and which you think you cannot control. Also, write down, are you scared of losing control over your emotions? Or do you believe it's impossible to control them? Then also maybe what behaviors it leads you to. Like, for example, if I believe that my sadness is uncontrollable, I'm going to do everything to avoid feeling sad in the first place. Or if I believe that my anger is uncontrollable, I'm going to do everything to avoid any kind of conflict so that my anger never appears. And because I avoid every kind of conflict, my anger remains in me, and then at a certain point, when I get tired or frustrated, or when I don't have so much energy to observe my emotions and regulate them, then maybe my anger explodes, okay, and I get in a huge fight. And then I think, oh, I was right, I cannot control my emotions, so I should avoid them. This is a very common avoidance strategy. So I should avoid my emotions because I cannot control them. I try to avoid them, and because of it I explode, which reinforces this idea that I cannot control my emotions. Another basis for avoidance can be that you believe that emotions are harmful, or that you should be able to control them completely. And this is as well not a very good thing, because it sets up really unrealistic expectation for you, because emotions cannot be completely controlled. This is just not possible. So if you're setting this kind of expectation for yourself and beating yourself up when you cannot achieve it, it's also a really harmful pattern. Then oftentimes we also see that if we have this idea that emotions cannot be controlled, we might act a certain way and not even try to change, because we believe that it's impossible. Like, I am shouting or fighting when I'm angry and I don't think it's possible, and so on and so on. So basically, first of all, I want you to analyze which emotions you think you can control, which you cannot control. And secondly, I want you to analyze which behaviors come from this, which interpersonal problems come from this, which relationship problems come from those ideas. And feel free to pause the video and we can continue after that. So let's talk now about emotions and what it's really like. First of all, there is first of all, harmful idea we can have related to control of our emotions is that I have to get rid of my emotion completely and immediately. This kind of perfectionism and maximalism is unrealistic, not possible. And also, it sets you up for failure, because if you expect yourself to get rid of all emotions immediately and then you don't manage it, it just makes you believe that that's true, that I cannot control my emotions, you see? So instead of it, please write down this idea that feelings can be just accepted and you can just live through them while you continue going to your goal. You do not have to get rid of feelings. You do not have to completely get rid of them or control them. Actually, feelings themselves are not dangerous. Feelings themselves are not more powerful than you. Feelings themselves are not making you do horrible things and so on. The question is not about feelings. The question is how you react to those feelings and what behavioral strategies you have, and if you have skills and knowledge to react in different ways. So it's kind of like rain. If there is rain outside and your roof is leaking, the problem is not the rain, the problem is the roof. So you cannot control the rain, but you can control your roof and fix it a bit. So same with emotions. There is actually no need to control them so much if you know how to just accept them and live through them. How to accept them? First of all, we validate them. We tell ourselves that yes, it makes sense, I feel like this. It is understandable. Many people would feel like me in this place. Then you pay attention how it feels like in your body, like where in your body, what is this body sensation, and concentrate there and just observe, and you will see that your emotions get less powerful, get changed with different emotions. Emotions are generally fluid. They are kind of like water. They go from one to another pretty fast if you don't get stuck in repeating thinking patterns. Well, I talked about this more in the previous video. But of course, and also this idea of perfectionism, that I have to get rid of my emotions completely, I have to control my emotions completely, 100%. It's a lot of this black and white thinking that either I control my emotions 100% or I don't control them at all. In reality, emotions are a continuum, and you can set more realistic goals. Like, for example, I don't want to get rid of my anxiety completely, but I want my anxiety to be like 6 out of 10 or less, and not 9 out of 10 like it is right now. So we can see them as continuum and not in black and white. And our ability to control them also in continuum and not in black and white. Next, what is important, that of course many people have this cognitive mistake of not separating actions and emotions. We think that it's emotions when we fight or when we shout or when we get in some bad habits and so on and so on. While in reality, it is not emotions. These are just coping strategies, and these are our actions. And this way, because of this melting together of idea of action and of emotion, is the reason why we oftentimes think that anger is a bad thing, because we associate anger with shouting at someone or fighting and so on. Well, in reality, anger itself is not leading to shouting or fighting. You can be angry, but you can react in different ways, not necessarily in violent ways. So it's very important to separate this emotion and action. Action can be like violent or toxic, as it's popular to say nowadays, but emotions are just emotions. They don't really have this like moral judgment over them. Your emotions cannot hurt you, your emotions cannot hurt other people if they don't connect with violent actions. So it's really, really important. Second idea, that separate always your emotions from actions. Ideally, you should be learning this from childhood. Like, for example, if you got angry in childhood, your parents should be telling you, like, you feel angry, it's fine, everybody feels angry sometimes, but don't shout, it's not acceptable. Instead, you can beat a pillow, or you can jump with me and we let go of this anger. So parents ideally should be teaching their children that emotions are fine, but you can find better ways to express them. Okay. So here you can try to do this experiment if you find yourself in this description, that if you always jump to actions on emotions, try making this experiment next week when you just when you don't react, when you just sit with your emotions and just feel them and not do anything else, and not try to run somewhere or fight someone or try to find some reasons. Don't even try to think, just sit with your emotions and feel them. And you will see that it's entirely possible to just be with your emotions without acting on them. Okay, this we thought. Bum bum bum. Next idea is that oftentimes people see emotions as something pathologic in a way. Like it is often related that people don't understand the meaning of emotions. We talked about this in the previous video, in the previous, like the video before that. But also sometimes it's related to the fact that we have this impression we cannot control our emotions completely. So when we have some emotions and we cannot control them, we might get anxious and imagine weird stuff like I am going insane, or that if I feel strong emotions, it's a sign that something is horrible or something is wrong with me or something is wrong in my life or something else. Well, this is just an assumption, this is just a belief, this is just kind of like cognitive view, and it might not be true at all. Like, you can feel strong emotions and be mentally healthy and well. Strong emotions are normal, strong emotions are healthy. Also, you can feel strong emotions and not go insane at all. You can feel strong emotions but still remain in control of your life in some way or another. So emotions cannot drive you crazy. It's not their possibility. You know, oftentimes when we are scared of our emotions, when we were not used to dealing with them in our childhood, then we see them as something horribly scary and we keep running away from them, while in reality there is nothing that scary about them. They are just emotions. They cannot touch you, they cannot hurt you, they cannot hurt anybody else, they cannot force you to do anything, they cannot force you to go insane. Your sanity is your brain health. Your emotions cannot just, destroy your brain. It doesn't work like that. So don't worry, you cannot go insane from emotions. Learn to see emotions as other kinds of discomfort. Like, for example, if your shoes are uncomfortable, you're not trying to think that, oh, I'm going insane because shoes are uncomfortable. No. If you feel hunger or thirst or something else, you can also feel that it's not very pleasant, but there is no actual reason to try to completely avoid hunger all the time in your life. Hunger cannot kill you. If you're just a little bit hungry, sometimes it's even good. You're gonna have a lot of appetite when you eat, and so on. So emotions can be treated same as any like sickness symptoms, or as hunger, or as sleepiness, or as some body sensations, and so on. There is nothing so special about emotions to make them like all powerful, controlling of your sanity, and so on. Also, it is important to know that emotions are not good or bad. Oftentimes, this is our third idea, that sometimes we have this idea that we have to control bad emotions. Like, good emotions, no, but bad emotions, yes. And some people even forbid themselves to feel certain emotions. Or most likely they do feel them, but they pretend they don't notice, or they deny themselves. Or some people, when they cannot allow themselves to feel angry at others, they just start hating themselves and getting angry at themselves. So anyway, the idea is that actually emotions are not good or bad. And relatively good or bad from moral point can be your actions, not emotions. Can be your words, not your thoughts. So there is nothing horrible if you're thinking a certain thing. More often, our thoughts are not even our own. Like we can have random songs, random advertisement words, random ideas we heard somewhere on the interview, playing in our head. Our head is like a busy city where we hear like different sounds and voices and conversations, and not all of them are our own, or not all of them define us as a person. So if you have any kind of emotions, thoughts, and so on, it's not big of a deal. You don't need to generalize them and say that, oh, I'm horrible, or I'm thinking those thoughts and they are bad, and so on. In general, thoughts are like busy city, emotions as well, and emotions are never good or bad. Same like weather is never good or bad. It's all like just the matter of clothing you're wearing. So that's the problem, not the weather. Also important to know that here as well, that emotions are not actions and emotions are not your choice. This is very important. Like you can judge and reflect on whether some action was good or bad, or if a choice was good or bad, but emotions are not a choice. Emotions are just like weather inside you. They are not your conscious choice in any matter. Then also this idea about the, some people have this inside perfectionism. I have a separate video about it, that you have to understand all the reasons for something in order to change that. Like I have to analyze my childhood in all possible ways before I can change anything in my adult life or something like that. In reality, it's not that important to understand always reasons for your emotions, let's say. If you feel like, I don't know, let's say you feel irritated, it's not always that important to pay so much attention and to question yourself again and again and again and again why you're feeling irritated. Yes, you can do it, but if, for example, you don't have time and energy, you can just tell yourself that, maybe I feel irritated because I'm just tired and overwhelmed with different activities. Maybe I feel irritated because I didn't sleep enough. I don't know, but I'm feeling irritated and I accept this feeling, I experience it, and it will pass. Okay, you don't need to always understand the reason for your emotions. You don't need to always completely see where they come from and so on. And oftentimes we get this idea of completely figuring out where emotions come from as a way to control ourselves. And this is not always useful. Okay. Next. Look, oftentimes we have another this mistake. When we don't have skills and don't have ability to deal with our emotions, and we have some kind of problematic coping strategies, like I made this example today already. For example, you are repressing your anger and then it explodes. This is an example of problematic coping strategy, because when it explodes, you're gonna think that, yes, I cannot control myself. So instead of interpreting this failure in such a way that I cannot control my emotions and so on, interpret it in such a way that I don't have strategies that work. I can learn new strategies. There are many different strategies to control emotions. You can learn new ones, or you can invent new ones based on experiment and experience. So instead of thinking that I cannot control emotions, think that I don't have strategies to control how I behave, let's say, or how I react to emotions. Which are adaptive strategies? Which strategies you should use? First of all, accepting your emotions. Second, validation, self-validation. It makes sense, I feel this way. Third, normalization. It's normal to feel this way. Other people also sometimes feel this way. Then it can be relaxation strategies. There are tons of different tools, there are applications and books and videos and music to relax and so on and so on. So you can choose what you like. Next adaptive strategy is solving your problems. Like, for example, you feel anxious because you have some big problem that you face, and here adaptive strategy would be solving the problem. And actually this is the goal of anxiety. When you have anxiety, if it's not like pathologic anxiety, if it's normal healthy anxiety, it is supposed to make you act to solve the problem. Then also adaptive strategy is using our basic cognitive skills, like for example ABCDE technique. I will try to remember to leave the link below. If I don't, it's in another playlist. Another good coping strategy that you can have is developing new kind of behavior. Like, you are used to dealing with emotions in this and this and this, and instead of it you're trying something new. And last one but not least, as they say, is getting support. Getting support from others, getting support from your therapist, getting support from your friends and family, getting support from other people and animals and nature and so on. Nowadays we live in this individualistic society, and it kind of imposes this idea that you're supposed to be able to take care of your emotions all by yourself, or that you're supposed to be like independent and all that, while in reality it's also just unrealistic and oftentimes harmful. People are social species. We are not snake. We developed to live in groups. We developed to live in communities. We developed to have daily interaction with other people, animal, and so on. So expecting that you should be able to regulate your emotions always just by yourself is unrealistic. And asking for support, asking for help, asking for someone to just hug you when you feel unwell is great strategy to, to manage your emotions. Okay, which strategies are not right? First of all, it's trying to think your thoughts. It's our ruminations. Ruminations are like chewing gum that you're chewing in your head, chewing gum of thoughts. Like, for example, you feel anxious and you're thinking and thinking and thinking about things that make you feel even more anxious. But you might be thinking that you're trying to solve the thing, but in reality you're just chewing this chewing gum, and ruminations come, and it just makes you feel more and more and more anxious. So ruminations and excessive thinking is not the good way. It's not a good coping strategy with emotions. Next bad strategy is trying to distract yourself. This often leads to bad behaviors, and unfortunately parents oftentimes teach this to children. Like, for example, a child is crying, and to make the child stop crying, his parents give them a candy and turn on TV. They are distracting the child from emotions. And this way the child doesn't learn how to manage the emotions and how to just be with them. And they might use distractions in their adult life as well, like bad habits, like smoking, like drinking, like overeating, like getting in computer games and playing them all day long, and other different ways. So distracting is also not good. Then there is repressing of emotions, kind of forcing yourself not to feel that way, and this oftentimes takes huge amount of energy, and you feel tired all the time when you do it. And then also avoiding your emotions. Well, we talked about this already a little bit. So let's sum up. First of all, you should not ever set expectations for yourself to completely control your emotions or your feelings and make them disappear immediately. Instead of this black and white thinking that you either control or don't control your emotions, try to look at them in a continuum, like from 1 to 10. See that I maybe can control my emotions at this number today, or at this number today. This is first idea. Second idea, you do not need to control your emotions. Emotions are not dangerous. Emotions are just emotions. They are not a big deal. They cannot hurt you. They cannot hurt anybody else. Emotions just are like weather, you don't need to control weather. You can just dress appropriately. Same, you don't need to control your emotions, you can just react to them appropriately. And sometimes it's much easier to just accept your emotions and feel them for a while, and then they will go away just like rain. Okay, so not necessary to control your emotions. Emotions cannot harm you, and they cannot harm anybody else. Idea number 3: emotions are not actions, and emotions are not choices. Your choices or actions can be moral, immoral, good, bad, and so on in some ways, but emotions are same for everybody. Emotions are normal, and there is no good or bad emotion, no good or bad feelings, and so on. So it's really important to separate actions from emotions, and don't think that acting a certain way means always a certain emotion. Like, if you're feeling angry, you don't have to always fight or shout or something like that. You can feel angry, but choose to talk in a non-violent way with another person. Next idea is that intensity of emotions doesn't mean that something horrible is happening or that it's out of the ordinary, let's say. If you feel intense emotions, they can still be just emotions. They don't become overly powerful because of it. Emotions are not some demons that control us, okay? Emotions are just emotions, they're just like weather. Sometimes we have light rain, sometimes we have heavy rain, but heavy rain cannot suck your soul or something like that. So even intensive emotions are okay and fine, and they will also pass. And just because emotions are intensive, it doesn't mean that they are taking control over you or something like that. And this leads us to this idea: emotions cannot drive you insane. They cannot drive you to lose your mind or something like this. Emotions are just not capable of doing so. So don't demonize them. um, next one, what we need to know. So you can accept your feelings and not try to change them, and also you do not to understand all the reasons for your emotions in order to just live through them and let them go. You don't always need to understand why every single emotion appeared. You can just recognize it, feel it, accept it, and let it go. And in the end, you also need to develop. In the end, if you have this that your emotions lead to impulsive or harmful or bad actions and habits, it's not that you cannot control your emotions, it's because you don't have strategies to properly react to your emotions. And I made a list of proper strategies. So I hope all these ideas were important for you, or at least some of them. The ideas that you can take your time and reflect on them in your notebook and writing, or you can just write down those that are most important for you and those that you need to remind yourself, and read it again and again for several days so that they get stuck in your head. Next one is next task is experiment and behavior change. First of all, make experiment for the next week. When you feel something, don't react. Don't do anything. Don't try to control it. Don't try to make yourself feel better. Don't try to make yourself, I don't know, stop feeling this and so on. You just don't do anything. Don't think about anything. Just stay with this emotion and write down what you find out. Like, for example, you can put a timer, like, give yourself 20 minutes to stay with a certain emotion and not do anything. Most likely, this emotion will either get smaller, less intensive, or completely disappear in this time. Next, what we need, and also this experiment lets you see that actually there is nothing scary if you do not control your emotions. Your emotions cannot harm you, they are not scary. And next thing is distancing from your emotions and kind of looking at them mindfully, experiencing them from this kind of outside observer perspective. And this helps you to have this healthy level of detachment, and to look at them in a curious and open-minded way without judging yourself and so on. And slowly, little by little, our goal is to let go of control over our emotions. By the way, this oftentimes leads us to some kind of childhood trauma, or some kind of deeper cognitive beliefs or assumptions about ourselves. Like, for example, maybe you are scared to let go of control over your emotions because your deep core belief is that I am a bad person. And this way, if I let go of my control over my emotions, I will be horrible and so on. Or maybe your core belief is that I am a lazy person, and if I stop controlling my every action and my every emotion, I won't be doing anything right, or something like that. But most often those beliefs are just bullshit ideas we got from our parents or society or somebody else that are not reflective of reality. I tell you, in my experience, most people, when they let go of control, their emotions don't harm them. On the contrary, sometimes it's even helping. So our goal here, and your home task, is, if you are used to controlling your emotions, to trying to manage them in some harmful ways, first of all, learning to let go of control and just accept emotion as it is, and secondly, developing better coping strategies. I give you examples of good coping strategies. It's acceptance, validation, normalization, relaxation, solving problems, cognitive restructuring, ABCD technique, new behaviors, and asking for support from others. All these are good strategies to cope with your emotions. So it's not enough to just watch this video. It's really, really important to, little by little, learn to let go of control of your emotions and learn to develop new habits of reacting to your emotions. And once you practice this enough, you will see that there is nothing really scary about your feelings. It's kind of like, like, if you are working with dogs or children or someone, if you don't have knowledge, if you don't have habit of dealing with them, if you don't know how they work and what to do about them and so on, you can be scared. Like, a child is crying and you have no idea what to do. However, if you have a lot of knowledge and you know how they work, what to do with them, you understand, like, for example, animal body language, like for dogs or cats, then you can feel secure and safe because you understand what's going on. Same with emotions. Ideally, we should be learning this in childhood when our parents explain us this, but not all parents know those things themselves. So it's important that we learn to, we learn the knowledge and we learn the methods that work for our feelings. And this is what my channel is for. And this is why I'm working on it, and I hope it really helps you. And if it does, please make sure to share my videos with your friends and family and relatives and on your social networks. This is always my best thank you. So for today, your task is analyzing your ideas about control over emotions, and also learning to let go of control, and secondly, learning better coping strategies when your emotions appear. And I remind you, your emotions are not a big deal. They literally cannot do anything. They literally are not controlling you or your life or somebody else. They're just like weather, and you can just experience them and you can just live through them. They cannot destroy you, they cannot make you insane, they cannot make you lose control or something like that. If you just let yourself feel, you will still be there, you won't disappear, and you will be okay. And to completely believe this, you need to do experiments. You need to let yourself feel your emotions more and more and more without controlling them too much. And next time we're gonna talk about shame and guilt about emotions. Very, very important part, and I see you soon. Bye bye.